"Jessica, I want a divorce," said my husband, James, out of the blue as I was doing the dishes. "What? Why?" I was taken aback by the suddenness. "The thing is, I'm about to come into $2.7 million. It's a huge sum, right? But it's mine. I don't intend to give any to you." "How does that relate to a divorce? I've been with you all this time for money. Your salary is pretty low, but it's better than nothing. So, I reluctantly continued this marriage. But once I get the $2.7 million, you'll be useless. I want to live alone and enjoy life, so let's split up." "Sure, if you have that much money, we can sell the house too. That'll cover the mortgage," I said without any resentment, surprising James a bit. Now I could finally say goodbye to this tiresome life. I slammed some documents onto the living room table. "My name is Jessica. I love children and work as a preschool teacher. I met James, 2 years my senior, through a friend's introduction. It's almost 8 years since we got married. We bought a house, thinking about having children, and I thought our happy days were just beginning back in our newlywed days. But right after we got married, James's kind attitude completely changed. He became increasingly nitpicky about money. Before marriage, he used to say my job was a wonderful profession, but then started saying, 'Jessica, you just play with kids all day, don't you? Here I am, working hard, and you're living the life. That's what they call a freeloader, right?' Eventually, these words became his constant refrain. Being a preschool teacher is tough too. Each child is different, and above all, we're responsible for their lives. In fact, there's no such thing as an easy job. But no matter how much I tried to explain, he just ignored me and wouldn't listen. I was so frustrated and upset. It's almost 8 years into our marriage, and the lack of children is because of this. If there's time to have kids, he says I should work more and more. Are you thinking of quitting your job using kids as an excuse? There's the mortgage and taxes, you know. What are you thinking? Don't ever bring up kids again." I was yelled at and couldn't say anything back. Sure, James is older and has more career experience, so he earns more than me. But the difference in our incomes isn't that huge. The difference in our salaries is only a few $1,000s. Yet, he always acts so superior. I take pride in my job and feel fulfilled every day. That's why being looked down upon for such unfair reasons was humiliating. Each of James's words pierced my heart, and sometimes I cried quietly alone. Lately, James often says he wants to be alone. "Actually, I can live by myself, but I'm sticking around with you out of obligation. Don't forget that." Why does he always talk down to me? It might be related to James's increased overtime. "You don't work seriously, so I have to work overtime to earn money. Why don't you be a bit more grateful?" I've been accused like this more often. But despite his overtime, there doesn't seem to be an increase in his salary. I also check our finances regularly, so I know this much. But the salary hasn't changed much, right? Even so, being talked down to like this. My words must have hit a nerve, as James became angrier than ever before. "Who do you think is responsible for our current lifestyle? I could leave you if I wanted to, so be prepared for that," he said, almost like a threat. He wasn't like this before we got married. Since that incident, our conversations as a couple dwindled. Then, one day, something happened that pushed me even further down. When we went to his parents' house during a holiday, his mother, while serving tea, said, "You've been married for 8 years now, right? Jessica, you used to say you wanted kids soon. Considering your age, have you decided on how many kids you want?" I thought this was the only chance to discuss it. I was about to speak up. "But then, Mom, we're not having kids. Jessica and I have talked and decided." Is that so? Yeah, she's like, "Absolutely no way I'm taking care of kids. Not at work, not at home." What? Wait, what are you saying? "Mom, can you not bring it up? It's stressful for Jessica." But that's not what It's fine, dear. If you both decided that way, it's okay to just be the two of you, his mother said and left the table, leaving me unable to discuss anything. In the car on the way home, I asked, "Why did you lie like that? I love kids and want them, but you keep saying not yet and don't cooperate. It's true you're not working seriously enough to think about having kids. Earn as much as I do, then talk." I thought being a preschool teacher paid more. What a letdown. That way of speaking. Anyway, I don't like kids and never plan to have any. They're just a money drain, and I'd rather spend that on myself. In contrast to my shock, James just laughed it off lightly. I knew not to bring personal issues into work, but I couldn't help being affected by this incident. Children are sensitive to such things. Ami, a child in the class I teach, approached me. "Ms. Jessica, what's wrong? You seem less energetic today." "Sorry for worrying you. I'm okay," I replied, gently patting her head. Ami wasn't the most noticeable type, but she was mature and kind for her age. She must be receiving very good upbringing. "You're not okay. You usually smile more. I don't like seeing Ms. Jessica like this," she said sadly. I felt ashamed for troubling even such a small child. Maybe my dad can solve Ms. Jessica's problem. He's a superhero and helps lots of people. He's picking me up tomorrow. I'll talk to him about it. Ami's mom usually came to pick her up. But tomorrow is a busy day, so her father said he would come to the daycare. I said I was fine, but Ami insisted on introducing me. I had only met Ami's father briefly at the time of enrollment and hadn't talked much with him. So I was a little nervous. The next day, as Ami said, her father came to pick her up. "Thank you for taking care of her. I'm Ami's father. I've heard a lot about you from my daughter. I'm really grateful she's having a good time." No, I should be thanking you. Ami is such a kind child. He seemed like a very polite person. But I didn't feel like discussing personal matters, especially since it was quite an embarrassing topic. It wasn't something easy to talk about. Ms. Jessica seems to have some troubles, and she wants to talk to Dad about it. "Thank you, Ami. I really appreciate the thought, but I understand how you feel. It's hard to talk about certain things, even with acquaintances. But my daughter is really worried about you. If there's anything, please let me help." Ami's father handed me his business card. I was surprised to see his title. But looking back, I think that was the moment my fate changed. It was then I decided to take revenge on James. I was making preparations steadily when James suddenly approached me. "Hey, can we get a divorce?" This happened after James came home early for the first time in a while, and we had dinner together. My hands stopped mid-wash at his sudden request. Seeing my confusion, James smirked unpleasantly. "You might not like it, but my mind is made up." "Can I at least know why?" "I'm coming into a large sum of money. Want to know how much?" $2.7 million. James continued without pause, even though I hadn't asked. "I've been with you only for the money. It's not much compared to mine, but it's better than nothing, right? But now, I have $2.7 million, so I don't need you anymore. Let's get divorced quickly. I've had enough of being your freeloader." Where did such a large sum of money come from? I had many things to say, but first, I threw this question at James. "That's none of your business. We're practically strangers now." "Okay, got it. Then let's get divorced." James seemed a bit surprised by my prompt agreement. "By the way, I have no intention of living in this tiny house anymore. I mean, I have $2.7 million now. I'm thinking of using this money to live in a mansion, so I've decided to sell this house." "That's fine. Then I'll look for an apartment. The remaining mortgage on this house can be fully paid off, right?" "Right, I'll pay it all off. That's only natural, considering our different positions." "Then thank you," I replied, and decided to start taking serious action. James looked puzzled watching me move efficiently. Then I busied myself with packing and searching for an apartment. Once the divorce seemed more certain, I arranged to have a proper talk with James. "I'll leave the mortgage payments to you. This house will be sold soon, and I don't want any disputes over what was said and what wasn't. So, I've drafted an agreement outlining these points. Please sign here." "Sure, that's right. Just to make sure you don't start complaining later." Why does James always have to add an unnecessary comment? I felt irritation rising but forced myself to stay calm. James's movements halted as he read the agreement. Hey, what's this about alimony? Why should I have to pay? If anything, Jessica, who doesn't work seriously, should be the one paying. You thought it wouldn't come out. You're really naive, I said and calmly laid out some documents on the table. James's face turned paler as he looked at the documents. Thank you for working hard every day with your overtime. You love your job, don't you? Because it's fun to be with your affair partner. There was a photo of James with his arm around another woman, looking cozy. She's just a junior colleague. It just looks like we're arm in arm. Are you trying to trip me up with this? You're still saying that? Then how about this? I presented another photo. It showed James and the same woman entering a hotel together. Instead of admitting guilt, James became defensive again. This is a setup. Don't you know about modern photo editing techniques? You think you can trick me with this? I sighed deeply. I hadn't expected him to be this stubborn. But I had prepared for this possibility. I didn't take these photos. I think they'll be here soon. Just then, the doorbell rang. James looked anxious, unsure of what was about to happen. I went to the entrance to welcome the visitor and led them to the living room. This is my attorney. These evidences were obtained by a detective agency, so there's no chance of them being fabricated. If you doubt it, shall I call them right now? Nice to meet you. I am Henry, Jessica's attorney. From now on, I will be handling the divorce proceedings. Do you have any concerns about the photographs? I'm ready to answer any questions. Seeing Henry's confident smile, James started to panic. His claims of working late due to a busy job were false. The detective agency had found out that he was leaving work at regular hours. The reason his income hadn't changed was because of this. If he wasn't working overtime, there was no way his earnings would increase. Instead, he was spending late nights with his affair partner. The discovery of the affair made one thing clear to me. It explained why James had started saying he wanted to be alone. He probably said that because he wanted to be with his affair partner. The attorney I hired this time was quite skilled. It was Ami who connected me with this person. Turns out, Ami's father is the president of a well-known corporate group. Her words about her dad being a superhero weren't a lie. After hearing my situation, Ami's father immediately contacted a detective agency and referred me to this attorney. I thought it was a bit over the top at first, but the more I looked into James, the more of his faults came to light. Fueled by anger, I decided to go through with it thoroughly. Acting like it's your doing, wanting alimony, I'll give it to you. I have $2.7 million, so a small amount like that is nothing to me. If you're done here, then get out. I never want to see your face again. I'd leave even if you didn't say that. If there's anything in the future, please communicate through my attorney. Don't come to me directly. Who would want to see you again? He hurled these last words at me. Without responding, I gathered my belongings and left the house. Maybe those words would have affected me more if they weren't from James, but he remained himself until the end. I wondered how someone could be so prideful. As I left the house, I thought my story of revenge had ended with that. But a few months later, an incident occurred. I had just gotten used to my new life in the apartment. Most importantly, the source of my stress was gone. Initially, I was indeed shocked by the reality of the divorce. But there wasn't a trace of romantic feelings left for James. So, I also felt a sense of relief. Yet, he showed up at my new apartment. Please, can we talk? I'm begging you. He shouted at the entrance, so I reluctantly let him in. What do you want? I told you not to involve yourself with me anymore. He was smirking while looking around my apartment. It was truly creepy. Well, you're living in a nice place for someone who left me. 2 rooms in this size, one could easily become my room. What are you talking about? There's no way I'm living with a stranger. Don't be so cold. Weren't we once married? We are legally strangers now. What do you want? Don't talk like that, Jessica. It's scary. You know, I realize that I only need you. You'd live better with me, right? You said living with the affair partner in a mansion was better and that being with me was just out of necessity. I'm not struggling without you. No, that wasn't serious, just a momentary lapse. I need you, Jessica. You're just pretending to be strong, right? You were the one who said I was no longer needed because you had $2.7 million. Why don't you find your next wife with that money? No, that's not it. James suddenly started crying and talking. The truth is, I thought I had won $2.7 million in the lottery, but I misread the numbers. It was just a mistake. I was speechless at his absurdity. I was always looking for a reason to leave you. I guess I misread the numbers because I thought I could divorce you and do whatever I wanted once I had the money. Noticing my cold gaze, he quickly added, but, don't worry, I've ended things with the other person. From now on, I'll only love you, Jessica. Let's start over. You still love me, don't you? What are you even talking about? I don't know anything about that. Do whatever you want. Please, help me. I thought I was getting $2.7 million, so I bad-mouthed my boss and quit my job. Now I can't take it back, and as soon as she found out I had no money, she stopped contacting me. It seemed James had been abandoned by his affair partner. Of course, no one would bother with a divorced man who lost his job, house, and supposed fortune. That's why I can't pay the mortgage, and I'm losing my house. You're the only one I can rely on, Jessica. That's why I'm telling you I don't know you. If you stay here any longer, I'll take appropriate actions. Remember the agreement you signed during our divorce. If you break the promises, the alimony increases 5-fold. Stop it, will you? James raised his hand as if to strike, angered. Is that what you want to do? If you lay a hand on me, it's an immediate call to the police, and you might be charged with assault. This apartment has security cameras, and your face will be clearly captured on them. James's face turned pale at my words. Leave now, or else I'll report you for trespassing. Scared by the mention of a report, James hastily left. I heard a sound like someone tumbling down the stairs, but I closed the door without concern. Since then, James never came back. Later, James's parents came to apologize to me. They had no idea things had gotten this bad. They informed me that after our encounter, James had fallen down the stairs and broken his leg. He ended up hospitalized for 2 months, which only added to his expenses. With the mortgage and the alimony owed to me, he desperately needed to work. He begged his former boss, tearfully asking to rescind his resignation and allow him to work from home. But after his disrespectful exit, re-employment was denied. James's parents had covered the alimony for him, so he now owed them as well as needing to keep up with the mortgage payments. It's a case of reaping what one sows. After things settled down, I visited Ami's home. When I shared that everything had been resolved, they were delighted. I always wanted to meet you since Ami is always in your care. I never expected it to turn out like this. I just reached out to my contacts. I'm really glad it helped. I'm so happy to see Ms. Jessica smiling again. They truly changed my life. I felt incredibly grateful. Though my husband looked down on me, it was my work as a preschool teacher that led to my current situation. I deeply realized the importance of cherishing every encounter. My love for my job has grown even stronger, and I want to continue working hard.